The Cannabis Conversation. A European perspective on the emerging legal cannabis industry.
Welcome to the Cannabis Conversation with Anuj Desai, where we explore the new legal cannabis industry by speaking to the professionals that are helping to shape it. On today's show, I have Fabian Friede, who is the co-founder and managing director of Sanity Group. Sanity are a German cannabinoid-based pharmaceuticals, wellness and cosmetics business, and recently raised a large sum of money in a Series A investment round. And Fabian is here to talk about Sanity, about raising investment and the medical cannabis sector in Germany. Welcome, Fabian. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good. A pleasure to have you on. How's lockdown treating you?
Well, I think it's the 8th week I'm working from home. And yeah, luckily we were in a position with the team, with the processes and tools where it was quite easy for us to transition into purely remote work. The only thing, we had to shut down our retail store here in Berlin, which obviously was very unfortunate. But apart from that, I think the transition went quite well.
Great. Some businesses are set up better, aren't they, than others to adapt to this new way of working. So yeah, glad to hear that you guys are doing well. So look, there's a fair bit to talk about, and we'll probably get a bit more onto Sanity in a minute. But maybe it's a good place to start with you telling us a bit about yourself and your background and how and why you decided to start Sanity Group.
Sure. Yeah, as you said, I'm Fabian. I'm one of the two founders of Sanity Group, and I started the company together with Finn. And Finn and I go back until, I think, 2010, where we met in Australia. We were both working for Rocket Internet, so big German incubator for digital businesses, and working on businesses in Australia at the time. Yeah, I think that was my time for Rocket Internet, roughly 3 years, so exploring the startup scene in various countries, various businesses. And I joined Rocket Internet basically just after finishing my studies. And in 2013, I moved to Berlin and started my first company, which was called Locafox. And the idea was to build a marketplace for stationary retail that combines the convenience of digital marketplaces. So what I can do as a consumer, I can go on an app and see what stores are in my surrounding area, what products they have, the real-time availability, real-time prices, get products delivered out of the store within 2 hours. So I think something that could be very helpful in a lockdown situation like this one. Unfortunately, this vision never really became a reality, but what we did, we pivoted the business into a digital cash register company that is still going. And because at the time it was very hard to get the data that you need from the retail stores to bring this model to life. And after that, I started another company that was a software as a service company, helping companies to measure employee satisfaction and to also improve it, always going via the different dimensions of company culture. So also very interesting topic. And I did that together with a big German corporate, the German LinkedIn. Yeah, after that, I started Sanity Group. So it's my third company I started. And obviously, it's a bit of a twist here, coming out of the digital industry, now focusing on cannabis. And for me, that happened actually in 2016. That was the time in Germany when a court decided that patients who have a special prescription for cannabis, which was still illegal at the time, that they can cultivate at home, because obviously, as cannabis was illegal, it was not very easy to get by in the local pharmacy. And politics, it was not the love topic for them to legalize growing or cultivating cannabis at home, even if it was just for patients. So out of that, the legalization for medicinal cannabis was born and came into play in 2017. And that was in this time between the court and actually the legalization was when I first stumbled upon this topic really, and thought also with our investors at the time about starting a company in that area. But I still had a company. And as you all know, if you build a company from scratch, focus is one of the most important topics to succeed. But yeah, that's where my interest started. And at some point, I continued looking into the industry, speaking with people. And at some point, the time was there in 2018, together with Finn, to start Sanity Group.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you kind of got entrepreneurship at your very core. If you started a business sort of, was it coming out of university or very soon after?
Well, at least after university, I started working for a lot of startups with Rocket Internet, and then I think when I was 26, I think when I started my first company.
Right. That's great. Very young. And she's picked up on one of the things that you said, which I find quite interesting. You said that the first company, when you left Rocket, you had an idea, but it didn't really happen, and then you had to pivot.
Yeah.
Talk us through that a little bit, actually. Was it quite difficult to realize that now is the time to pivot? Was it painful in any way that you had to sort of abandon your original dream? What were the sort of thought processes that you went through?
I think maybe we've done at the time a typical problem that a lot of young entrepreneurs do. They fall in love with a solution where they should actually fall in love with the problem. Because if you fall in love with the solution and at some point you find out, actually, my solution is not really solving the problem, it's very, very hard to then find a new problem for that solution. But when you fall in love with that problem, you can adapt with your solutions way easier. So that's why I think we just love the idea of bringing all this transparency that we created on our own, like when we created digital businesses, to the stationary retail world, where at the time, I think still 90% of retail revenue happened in stores. And yeah, we just love this idea. We knew the technology to build that. So I think maybe that is a big learning. It's easy to read that in books. It was a bit harder to experience it in real life. And it's also, so it's always easy to kind of in hindsight to say that you were on the wrong track, but it's very hard when you are in that situation because there's normally not that one definitive point where you know, okay, I'm walking into the right direction. So it's a lot of different hints that you get, speaking to customers, speaking to partners, and so on and so on. And of course, it's painful in that or at that time because you've put so much effort, so much time, so much resources in building the company, working on your dream. And yeah, shifting it is not easy. But yeah, I think fast it worked and the company still exists and is going. Obviously, stationary retail are building digital cash register in this situation of the lockdown is also not the most sought after business. But overall, I think it was a very positive experience born out of a quite tough situation. Yeah.
Sure. And an amazing learning experience there, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. So maybe tell us a bit more about Sanity then, and what are your revenue models and things like that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Sanity Group, we're focused on two different pillars. On the one side, medicinal, and on the other side, well-being. So on the medicinal side, we have one of our companies. So Sanity Group is the holding company. We have our medicinal company, Viamed, which is the pharmaceutical company developing and selling medicinal cannabis products. And so there we are obviously working together with doctors. They're prescribing these products and we are delivering these products to the pharmacies here in Germany. And then on the other side, we have our well-being company called Vi, which is developing and selling well-being products directly to consumers, so mainly through our online store. But prior to the lockdown, we also had our own physical store here in Berlin. And yes, these are our two different pillars.
Right. And are you vertically integrated? Are you cultivating as well, or are you just...
No, directly from the beginning, we obviously had this discussion because at the time when we started the company, cultivation was still a very big topic, and you saw all the major companies investing and continue to investing in new sites, increasing their production capacity. But we said, we want to focus on what we are good at. And our background is rather in sales, in operations, and in creating brands. So basically creating the consumer demand and fulfilling it. And therefore we said, there are other people, they are far better in producing a superior product. Let's partner with them, let's work with them, and let's do what we can do best. And let's create these desirable brands and deliver value to our customers.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm interested to hear, do you find there's a good choice of supplier? Obviously, you probably have longer term partners, but...
It's not easy. That's for sure. Yeah, I think if we speak, for example, about CBD, we've tested, I don't know, hundreds of samples from various suppliers out of, I don't know, dozens of countries. So and then if you compare it with the medicinal side, it's very different. There's just, I don't know, a handful of suppliers, for example, in Europe, and then another couple of handful maybe in North America that have all the requirements when it comes to GMP and so on in place, so they can actually fulfill the medicinal demand. So on both sides, we have challenges when it comes to the supply chain and working and finding the good suppliers. But luckily, we invested a lot of time directly in the beginning, and we have a good setup.
Great. So yeah, I mean, so medicinal and wellness, two fairly kind of not well-trodden paths, but there seems to be a lot of people doing that. What kind of makes you guys stand out, or what's your USP?
I think when it comes to differentiation, what is true in general is that we are a very customer-centric company, and we focus on delivering value to our customers. And on the medicinal side, what that looks like is that we focus on quality of our products, that we focus on additional services, how we can support doctors and pharmacies delivering value to the patients, because in the end, it's all about the patient and to increasing their quality of life. On the well-being side, I think we have a very different positioning than a lot of other players in the market, because Vi is not only focused on CBD, but we follow a more holistic approach. We combine innovative ingredients like CBD and terpenes and adaptogens, and we integrate our products with other things like playlists, workouts, meditations, because overall, we want to help people to find the inner balance in our stressful modern times, especially troublesome these days. And I think there's a nice comparison out there that people use, and they say caffeine was the go-to ingredient in the 20th century. And we believe that CBD can be the ingredient of the 21st century. And Vi is the brand that embeds it without only focusing on it, because our reality is too complex for just 3 letters to improve it alone. But like I said, we want to be more holistic. And yeah, there are a lot of companies out there just selling, I don't know, CBD oil or so, but we offer a wide range of products that you can embed into your daily rituals. And yeah, therefore we help you to find your inner balance and cope with the challenges of our modern times.
Yeah, that's great. I really like that focus, that it's not solely on CBD as a pure ingredient. It's part of a bigger thing. Are you looking at other cannabinoids as well?
I think, yeah, of course. I mean, due to the prohibition, there's a lack of research, I think, or let's say there's a lot of research that we have to catch up with. And we're obviously very interested in what that research will bring to the table. And obviously there's some interesting research already, but at the moment, most of our products are still focused on CBD for now. But as part of our product development, we are looking at other ingredients as well.
Great. And also, do you do topicals as well as supplements?
Yes. So when it comes to topicals, my favorite product is our sports gel. So yeah, we're also doing topicals.
Great. Yeah, I mean, you guys were in the news a bit in February. I think it was $22 million. Is that the biggest raise for a cannabis company in Europe, I think?
Yeah, I think at the time it was. But yeah, $22 million, that's the right ballpark.
Right, yeah. So that's a big deal. Would love to find out more about it. So 2019 was, quite widely acknowledged as a very challenging year in general. How did you put this all together, or, with that in the backdrop and with that in the background rather? And yeah, who are your investors, and a bit through the process?
So, yeah, I mean, we definitely put together around in 2019. And I mean, yes, I think we can say that we saw a big, although the cannabis market, let's say in Northern America, was doing a different development. We saw a different development there, but that was not impacting us too much, right? Because we are a European company with a focus on the European market. And the problems that we see for Northern American brands, be it overproduction, so they invested a lot of money in facilities that they don't fully use now, that they were overly ambitious with internationalization, that there was a lot of speculation. All these companies listed on the stock exchanges had to then manage these stock prices. So we were obviously not dealing with that, so had a bit of a different scenario here. And Europe is a potential huge market, and we're just in the beginning. And I mean, that is the, I think, story that resonated with the investors, that we are a European team. We want to have a footprint all over Europe. We have Germany as our home market, which is the biggest cannabis market in Europe. And yeah, we're able to attract, I think, a great range of investors from top European VCs, funds out of the UK, US. And what is bringing them all together is that they believe in the market and our vision to unlock the benefits of cannabinoids for health and well-being.
Yeah, that's great. And so you had an international mix of investors as well, which is good, and probably, as you say, testament to Germany being kind of at the forefront in Europe.
Yeah.
What other territories are you operating in, just out of interest?
At the moment, we are still only present in Germany. What we are looking to now moving to other territories here in Europe. Obviously, with the Corona situation, this was delayed a bit. But I mean, yeah, let's say I think in the second half of the year, there will be a lot of interesting news for where Sanity is expanding to.
Yeah. I mean, look, this is a bit of a loaded question, but, being from Germany, do you think that was possibly more attractive because you understand the environment than possibly, some of the big Canadian companies that were investing in this?
I think, I mean, if you come from North America, the regulations are obviously very, very different when you come to Europe. I mean, we know that like there is not such a thing as harmonized access to medicinal cannabis, for example. And there are a few associations working on that. But at the moment, you have to have great teams in every country that you're operating in. And I think having a team in Germany, now speaking for international companies, is a must if you want to win this market. And obviously having a good team is even better. I mean, I think what we were able to do is assemble an outstanding team. And therefore, yeah, of course, it is very helpful because, I mean, if you want to win in this market, you need to have the right people. And obviously bringing these people on board is easier when you have a good network, when you know how to find the good people. And yeah, I think that's what we managed to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's always an interesting area, isn't it? Finding talent, recruitment.
Yes.
How hard have you found that process? Or, I mean, where I sort of see things at the moment is, and there's been a few articles written about it, is sort of coaxing in people from established industries that have done things well in those industries and now bringing them into cannabis and almost sort of saying, look, this is a serious industry and it's worth, switching over into. How have you found that general process?
There is this saying that as a founder of a company, you spend 10% of your time recruiting and 90% fixing of what the people that you recruited incorrectly are causing a problem. So I think increase that 10% to, 20% and enjoy the other 80%, not spending time on fixing problems, but do value add things. So I think when it comes to recruiting, it is extremely important for the success of your business. And I mean, so far we've seen a lot of interest when we're recruiting. So the cannabis industry is definitely attracting a lot of people. Not everyone that you attract is you want to bring on board, because in an industry like that, obviously there are also people because they love the plant, but might not bring the necessary experience that you want to earn. But also, I mean, people that love the plant are normally very passionate about it and bring extra inner energy. And that's something that if you're starting from scratch, there's so much to do. So this extra energy goes a long way. So yes, I think it's very important. What you also said is you have to, or what is a good strategy is to also bring in people that have done it before, maybe in other industries. So in general, what we've done at Sanity Group, we have quite a diverse team. We have people that have 30 years experience in the pharma industry and launched, a lot of products there. We have people that come from creating food supplements. We have doctors, we have pharmacists, we have people that have created other companies before. So really a broad set of experience. And what I think what one of my roles is now is to create the environment where all these people can perform at their best every day. Because obviously I and Finn also, like, we together we do not have the experience to cover every area and be the best in every area. But we need to do is to bring on the people that are the best in the area. And we need to make sure that all these people run into the right direction. And yeah, that's what we're currently focusing on.
Yeah. And I guess it's a delicate balance, isn't it, of trusting those people to do that role and not micromanaging.
Yeah.
Which I can imagine.
Something that you need to learn, maybe.
Yeah.
At least I had to.
Yeah, of course. Especially as a founder, it's like your baby, right?
Yeah.
So entrusting it to other people must be a necessary but difficult process at times.
Yeah.
How do you get comfortable with that?
So I can just say I learned from my mistakes. So when I was younger, it was also not easy for me, and I was managing big teams. I think when I was 25, I was managing a team of 25 people. I worked way too long because I tried to still follow up on every little task myself. And, it's just something that you understand. And at the time, I can tell now I was a bad manager, and unfortunately, some people had to endure me during that time, have the opinion at least. And I think my employees would agree that obviously I've taken these times and learned from them, and are able to hire the right people and give them all the responsibility and autonomy to be successful. Because what we always say, if we hire you at Sanity Group, you have 100% trust from our side on your day one. You don't need to earn that trust because you've done it already by making it through the interview process and come on board, right?
Mm.
So, and as we give you all that trust, we give you also a lot of responsibility and authority with it when it comes to decision making. And what we want to do is rather lead with goals and setting up the environment where you can excel. And for me, it took several years to get to that point where I feel confident working in the system. I believe that it is right, that we are doing great work. And I also know that we are still far from having the optimal system and that there's so much more to learn. But what we're building a learning organization. And it's not about a single person that is getting better, but everyone in that organization getting better and together become better, a better functioning organism. Because only then you can be quick, you can adapt to changing situations, you can become very innovative. And you have to be that if you want to compete with the huge companies that already exist in this space that have different, just sums of funding available, very deep pockets, right? You can solve some problems with money, but that's not our way. I think we do it with having the right people, being fast and agile and innovative.
Yeah, yeah. And I think those people with deep pockets haven't got that much left anymore. Some of them.
Yes.
But yeah, and I think you're right. And I think it's a really good focus on your people is a great place to focus.
Yeah. And it's easy to say that, right? And I probably was saying that also 7 years ago, but it's very, very different the way we live it now compared to then. And I think for me, that is very humble now, like in hindsight, understanding what I could have done better back in the time when I probably already thought that I was not doing a too bad job.
Yeah.
I think that is important. That's how you grow. Sometimes you have to do the mistakes yourself to learn from it. You just have to make sure that you really learn from it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that sounds great. I think while I've got you here, actually, I might as well ask you a little bit more about Germany.
Sure.
So obviously, it's definitely the leader in Europe and tens of thousands of patients. Where do you think Germany needs to improve to sort of push this on, if you like?
I think if we're looking on the medical side, access to medicinal cannabis is not easy. And I think we can do a better job of giving access to medicinal cannabis for patients who really need it, who can improve their quality of life. And what I mean with that is, for example, the hurdles that doctors have when it comes to prescribing, the high rejection rates that we see with the health insurances when it comes to these therapies. And I mean, these rejection rates are roughly about between 30 and 40%, which I think is very high. Wow. And also the amount of therapies that you need to have done and documented before, as a doctor, you can, basically, or start with the cannabinoid therapy is a lot. I mean, obviously, we hear a lot of stories from doctors where they have patients that are, I don't know, 90 years old, and they're just therapies that do not make sense if you're 90 years old. And cannabis could be the right therapy where they do not get the go from the health insurances of these patients, which obviously then sad to hear. But I think that is, for example, one area to improve. Then we have other areas more concerning the pharmacists, because as you might know, in Germany, cannabis it's not a finished drug. Obviously, it's a formulated drug. So there are manufacturing steps basically being done in the pharmacy. And there are a lot of steps, for example, when it comes to the identification of the substance, that is a lot of work, which in the end might make the product more expensive for the overall healthcare system, which Germany is addressing overall as well. And obviously also there's a lot of work for pharmacists. And if you can make identification easier for the pharmacists, they can also focus more on more value adding work they do in the pharmacies.
Would you mind explaining that a bit more? What are the steps that the pharmacist has to do?
Yeah. So I'm sorry, my English vocabulary might be a problem here, but most of German states, you have to use thin layer chromatography. I think that's the word in English to do the identification of the cannabis when it comes to THC, CBD. And obviously that's a process that takes a lot of time and also resources that you need for that, which makes it expensive. And there are quicker solutions that are currently not in every state accepted with like testing stripes or so. And I think everything that makes therapy more expensive, or let's say unnecessarily more expensive, and also for the pharmacist more time consuming, might not be value adding for the patient. And I think that we need to have then discussions of if there's something room for improvement. Yeah, I think these are areas where we can definitely see the politics in overall regulation can be, let's say, revised and work more in the favor of patients.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, like most jurisdictions, the authorities are probably taking an overly conservative approach to begin with because they're just, I mean, this whole thing is so full of stigma, isn't it? It's worried about what might go wrong.
Of course.
And not focused enough on what can go right, which I suppose is it's an understandable viewpoint.
Of course. I mean, understand from the regulators, obviously you do not want to have misuse of narcotics. I understand that. Yeah, I think we can just think more in the favor of the patient here and try to make it more accessible for patients, because all the evidence shows into the direction that we can really improve the quality of life of patients. And I mean, that's what everyone is on board on in the healthcare system. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's sort of similar stuff to what's going on in other parts of the world as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, the inevitable question, how do you feel that Corona is going to affect the industry, both in Germany and further afield?
Yeah, it's a tricky question because I think overall, if you look into the pharma health industry in general, we are not as much impacted as other industries. Some parts of the industry might even thrive. So in that sense, I have a positive outlook for the future. But what you can also say is during these times, there are additional costs for the healthcare system. In a time where, for example, if there are more unemployed people there in Germany, there are less people paying into the healthcare system. So, and these additional costs might lead to hefty saving needs for the healthcare system in the future, because we all don't know how long the situation will stay, how many people have to go into intensive care, how many people will be unemployed over what period of time. So that's why I'm saying I think currently the short-term impact for the healthcare industry in general, I don't see a big difference. Also for cannabis, anything cannabis related, if you have a pain patient, pain doesn't go away because we have Corona at the moment. So there is still that need. But the healthcare system overall, I don't know. I'm not in a position to foresee how that will be impacted. But if we see these saving needs in the future, there might be pressure also on medicinal cannabis prices. On the other side, on our second pillar, the well-being side, I mean, it is a direct-to-consumer brand, and most of our sales go through our online store. And I think e-commerce is an industry that is also, let's say, a winner in this situation.
Have you seen a rise in interest in sales?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, we're still not that long on the market. We have seen every week a growth,
right?
Luckily, and that continued. So I would say yes, definitely. It also helps us in these times. I mean, obviously, we had to shut down our store, and let's see how that continues. But I think overall, I mean, with CBD, a product that helps you to work on your inner balance, I think troublesome times are also where people are more keen to try new ways, and we might profit from that.
Yeah, I think a general increased interest in health is inevitable off the back of this. So let's see how cannabis can fit.
Maybe if you say, what impact do we see for the cannabis industry? I hear now from various countries that they are speaking about initiatives to strengthen the economies by legalizing cannabis for recreational use. So who knows what we will also see in Europe born out of the Corona situation when it comes to strengthening the economy. I don't know. I think it depends a lot on the regulators, but also on how long we will see COVID-19 impacting the industry.
Yeah. I think that is it's a hopeful view, isn't it? In that lots of economies are going to go through some very tough times as a consequence. So is a kind of new view on cannabis going to be necessary because to stimulate those economies? Let's wait and see, I suppose.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So we're moving to my kind of traditional last question. What did your parents say when you told them you were starting a cannabis business?
Oh, I honestly do not remember what my parents said. I think they obviously didn't have a problem. I would remember that. I mean, they had seen me, maybe their opinion would have been a bit different when I was younger, but by now I think they know me as a person of reason. And I have started companies before, so they also, I think, trusted in my decision making there. I think what would be more interesting was the reaction of my grandparents.
Yes.
Because my grandparents, they just turned 80, and my grandma as well. So again, different generation. And when I told them about that, I will start a company for medicinal cannabis, they were actually very interested and supportive. And that was to my surprise. They had heard already about medicinal cannabis on TV or so, and they were very positive about it. And I think that was surprising, to be honest, to me. I expected a different reaction there because, I mean, there's still a stigma. And I didn't know that my grandparents knew a bit more than I thought they knew about the positive impacts cannabis can have on health and well-being.
That is great. I love it when I hear stories like that. And you're right. It is that the elderly generation, which you probably naturally think, they're going to be conservative and disapproving. But then equally, I think, as you're getting towards the end of your life, you're also thinking, I want something that will help me. And I don't care what I've been told before. If it works, it works. So really happy to hear that they were quite sort of forward thinking on that.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of the patients that we see here in Germany are older, are above 60. I mean, that's what we have from the mandatory survey that doctors are filling out when they are prescribing cannabis. We see that they are also benefiting from the new legalization of medicinal cannabis. So I totally agree.
Yeah, great. Cool. Well, Fabian, thank you so much for joining me today. Really interesting chat. And I look forward to hearing more about Sanity once we kind of get out of lockdown and you're able to sort of execute all your plans.
Yes.
It'd be great to get you back on at some point.
Of course. Let's do that.
Great. Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.